take their seat, please.
Look my email and bounce it down in it. So my webinar, I think with the webinar, I say like.
Thank you for joining us for VentureHome Pitch Day. Want to welcome everyone. My name is Linda Thomas, and I'm the Regional Intellectual Property and Licensing Regional Associate. I also work with founders to help advance their ideas into commercial entities here at WISIS. For those that are not familiar with WISIS, we are an independent nonprofit supporting organization of the Universities of Wisconsin and serve as the Technology Management Office for comprehensive campuses. However, our objectives and impact go beyond technology transfer. We're dedicated to cultivating entrepreneurship ecosystem throughout the state through our VentureHome network, which oversees the statewide network of entrepreneurial hubs that provide programming and local support to founders, as well as our Forward Ag program, which works with farmers, industry professionals, university researchers, and other strategic partners to advance agriculture innovation and sustainability. So today, I want you all to be prepared to be blown away by the ideas that our presenters will be showcasing. These ideas will not only continue to make Wisconsin economically viable, but will make Wisconsin a key player in emerging markets, particularly within agriculture. With that, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of our founders and presenters. Thank you to Forward Fest and sponsors for the opportunity to share ideas, connect, and be able to build together. Today's agenda includes an overview of VentureHome and Forward Ag, followed by pitches from our presenters. Next, I would like to introduce Joey Frame from Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. On behalf of WISIS, I would like to thank the WDC for their highly collaborative partnership with us and for hosting this event alongside with us. So, Joey?
All right, how's everyone doing? So here at WDC, our mission is to build an economy for everyone to thrive. I'm Joey Frayne, I'm the Venture Debt Director here at WDC. Our goal with our entrepreneurship and innovation team is to provide the resources for high growth, aspirational entrepreneurs to be able to thrive here in Wisconsin. We provide those resources or tools through a few different ways. We have some direct assistance programs, as well as we work with a lot of partners across the state to help entrepreneurs both on their journey. A few things that we have to offer, a few resources. We have the Wisconsin Investment Fund. That's a $100 million venture capital initiative to invest in Wisconsin-based early stage startups. How we function within that fund is we're an LP in multiple funds, and in tune those funds will invest in early stage companies. For companies that are looking to raise capital, we have the QMBV, or the Qualified New Business Venture Program. That's a program where we certify early stage companies, and they're able to offer, they're all raising equity capital, and investors receive a tax credit incentive. We have a venture debt fund called Technology Development Loan, where we'll invest roughly $5 million in early stage startups every year. If you're a company that's had an SPIR or STTR grant, we have some, we work with the University of Wisconsin system to provide a matching grant. And finally, we don't do this work without others. So we have a statewide network of partners. They deliver both technical assistance, mentorship, pitch competitions, incubators, accelerators, and more. So we're a proud sponsor of Forward Fest and happy to be a key strategic partner of WISIS. Really excited that everyone could join us here in our office, and I'm excited to see the pitches and learn more about what the different entrepreneurs are doing. So again, thanks for coming. And I guess I'm here, Ed from our team's back here, Zainab. So if you're interested in learning more about WC, feel free to find one of us either today or reach out to us via email. So back to you.
So next, I would like to introduce our Forward Ag Director, Brad Gordon, who will provide an overview of the objectives and desired impact of VentureHome, Forward Ag, and our Forward Ag Youth Inspired Research Grant.
start right off the bat showing this video about WISIS. This is from our 25th anniversary, so this is last year. So the context on the very closing 10 seconds of this video, that'll kind of help you understand why they're saying 25 years.
Innovation is very much part of our history.
I'm not sure how much opportunity we would have to innovate if it wasn't for WISIS.
They will listen to your idea, they will try to help you bring that idea to fruition.
There's innovation anywhere and opportunities everywhere. We've seen that all throughout Wisconsin.
WARF established a subsidiary called the WISIS Technology Foundation, and that's how it all started. We wanted the comprehensive university to develop jobs and processes and new ideas that could be submitted as disclosure. That was the bedrock of WISIS success. Programs that were initially developed for faculty members to say, hey, if you want to develop an idea, here's how you're going to go about it, and here's what you can expect.
When Arjun came on board, I think we started to have much more intentional collaborations.
Arjun drove up here through a blizzard, and it was way below zero. This guy's coming from Texas. I thought, is this guy gonna even make it here? He made it.
When we started, we were helping maybe 50 to 100 people a year. Today, we are supporting over 1,400 people in a variety of different ways.
It's a remarkable team, and everybody seems just committed to helping us.
In the last 11 years, we've added so many more programs and opportunities to support innovators across Wisconsin.
Spark Symposium, it takes place on different campuses throughout the universities of Wisconsin.
WISIS is always looking at where the gaps are within the Wisconsin innovation ecosystem and trying to see if they can play a role in filling those gaps.
My students have benefited far beyond just those research dollars. It's hard to stress enough how doors open.
The future of innovation here is to spread it like the Wisconsin idea to the members of the state.
VentureHome. It's an opportunity for the best of Bryce who maybe moved away from Wisconsin to realize that, hey, you can come back to Wisconsin, get your business started, tap into these resources, and have an impact for our communities, for the region, for the state as a whole.
We won an award from the National Science Foundation of $1 million to create forward agriculture. We're now competing for over $200 million.
One of the real successes of forward agriculture is bringing in people from all corners of the state and bring them all together for a goal for the entire state. Forward agriculture has the opportunity to really transform the agricultural system in our region.
WISIS is known globally as a leader within technology transfer with respect to smaller universities.
It's been recognized as a national model for how to do this. Very few other states had anything close to this at all.
The way that WISIS connects the universities to each other, to business, to industry, to communities, is exactly what is needed to push innovation forward.
Is there anything more important for a university to do than to unlock that passion, unlock those dreams? Building a stronger workforce and providing prosperity for the state, that's the beauty of WISIS.
We can bring this entire system of universities of Wisconsin together for the best interest of our state and our country and our world.
It's a very important organization, and I think it will emerge even more important in the next 25 years.
I think we all know here today, research makes
Here's to the next 25 years.
25 years.
25 years.
25 years of innovation.
Here's to the next 25 years of innovation.
All right, great, thank you. So, like Linda said, I'm Brett Gordon. I am the Director of Forward Agriculture, which is a part of WISIS. So I'm the last person before you get to see all the pitches, but I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk a little bit more about WISIS and Forward Ag to give you some more context for the pitches that are coming here in a minute. So again, our 3 pillars as an organization for YSYS are the people, ideas, and ecosystems. And so we work with people at the universities, so staff, faculty, students, and we turn their ideas into innovation, into technology, products, and startups, working with entrepreneurs, and then we make sure that ecosystem is built around them to sustain them, and especially those startups as they move out across Wisconsin. And the VentureHome network is everything your startup needs under one roof. So these are actually physical locations, and so we partner with universities. They're affiliated with universities and a local partner, so they actually have a place for people to go across the state, but also some virtual resources. And so the mission is to facilitate scalable startups by providing local access to a statewide network of resources in the UW system regional campus communities. So the objectives are to support entrepreneurs throughout the state, build entrepreneurial culture and capacity in underserved regions. So again, it's throughout the state, next to all these UW campuses in the universities of Wisconsin State. And then commercialize UW technologies through startups, and then bolster partnerships for a robust, sustainable ecosystem. So we make sure we build those contacts and those partnerships with industry partners in the state, and get them connected and mentoring or have license agreement opportunities as well. Some highlights through VentureHome so far. We have 9 communities connected, over 3 million in impact, over 80 level up startups, and over 1,000 referrals. So Forward Agriculture was started in pursuit of NSF engine funding, and we were awarded $1 million to build that engine. And then we also received funding from the governor last year through WEDC. So we have funding from WEDC, and that's actually what is funding some of our youth-inspired research grants that you're going to see pitches from. And then we also received some match dollars from University of Wisconsin-Madison to go with that and fund a couple more research projects. So this chart, I know these screens are kind of back from you all here, but the outside of it, these are all the different partners that are involved in Forward Ag. So we have over 70 partners connected to Forward Ag, and then we have over 400 collaborators across the state who are in communication. And again, those are industry partners from education, government, NGOs, and risk capital. So we have investors, and then again, that UW system at our core being with YSYS. And then the next ring on the inside is kind of what the funding is actually funding. So we have youth-inspired research projects. We have translation to practice, so that's kind of an implementation of technology across the landscape. So working with farmers and others on the ground who are going to use that technology. And then we also have workforce development and policy and cross-sector partnerships. So the collaboration component of Forward Ag is a key part of this system and coalition. But at the core, so the kind of the topic of the research projects in ag tech, food and ag tech, is this pursuit of a circular bioeconomy. So how do we find value in what is currently labeled as waste? And so that is kind of a theme that you can kind of look for in these presentations, in these pitches that are coming up here soon. So when we talk about use-inspired research projects, that means that we are looking at the end use as we're starting the research. And so we have this industry advisory board that is part of Forward Ag, and so they all work together, all the members of this board. We have other industry partners throughout the state, but this is our core advisory board that kind of tells us this is what's needed right now in food and agriculture in the state of Wisconsin, and it guides our implementation of the funding and the awarding that we did with those funds for the youth-inspired research. So we have those partnerships that are making sure there's going to be some sort of tech transfer process through these research recipients as well. So with that, if you want to learn more about Forward Ag, as Linda is coming back up here to MC the pitches, feel free to scan the QR code or go to our website, so ysys.org, and you can join the network, you can join the newsletter, you can see any updates on events or other happenings and funding that might be coming up here through Forward Ag again, or join the coalition to help close the gap between research and market. So with that, I think we're going to move into the pitches now. So come on back up, Linda, and we'll transition over. Thank you.
Okay, so So before we get started with the pitches, just a few housekeeping announcements. So bathrooms are located around the corner past the elevator. For today, there are 5 pitches, and so there will be a few minutes after each pitch for questions from the audience. Okay. So for our first presenter is Dr. George Huber, who is the founder of the company Glasses, which focuses on commercializing a low-calorie sweetener from dairy waste. So please welcome to the podium, Dr. George Huber.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'd like to thank Forward Ag for supporting the research I'm going to talk to you about today. Our research is all about making tagatose. This is a sample of tagatose. You can purchase it today on Amazon. It has a similar sweetness as sucrose. It's a rare sugar, but it only has 1/3 the calories. And it has a very low glycemic index. It's anti-carcinogenic. It is a sugar. It bakes just like sugar. It has a lot of really great advantages. You're welcome to take a look at it if you want. If you're feeling like a daredevil, you can open it up and take a little taste of the tagatose as well. Nobody can ever tell the difference between tagatose and sucrose. The challenge right now is it's too expensive to manufacture. So we have developed an inexpensive way to take the lactose in dairy whey and convert it into tagatose. There is huge amounts of acid whey that's available. The main component of these whey, these dairy waste, is lactose. Most of these lactose streams remain undervalued. The dairy industry doesn't like to talk about lactose. I was at the Wisconsin State Fair a few weeks ago and they had an exhibit on dairy. They talk all about the proteins, they talk about the fats. They don't like to mention lactose, but that is the main component of that stream. With GLPs, there's a bigger and bigger driver for market for the whey protein. So we've assembled an experienced entrepreneurial team to commercialize this technology. Jared Featherman is our head of business development. Bill Banholzer, he's the former CTO of Dow Chemical. He's an investor actually in us, an angel investor on our board. Bruce Stevens is our chief engineering officer, has 40+ years in engineering and is designing our system. And then Scott Rankin is the head of food science and has really taught me a lot about the dairy industry and all the waste. Me and Scott have been working on this project for about 10 years now. So what do? We take lactose-rich waste streams. We do different filtration to remove the proteins, remove the contaminants. We do a couple of reactions, a couple of purifications. We make tagatose. We use proven industrial chemistry instead of expensive enzymes. There's no biology in our process. Our reaction times are very short, under 30 minutes. We're designing a system that could fit into the existing infrastructure. So we would build this system right at some dairy plant that has these lactose-rich streams, and it would allow them to take that waste stream and turn it into tagatose, providing additional revenue from it. There's great resources that are available at UW for scaling up this technology. These are some of the resources that we've used to scale this up. We've produced 50+ gallons of our glucose-galactose syrup. If you look at B, that's our hydrolysis reactor. That's in Babcock Hall. If you're in there and you're seeing how they make ice cream, our reactor is right there next to it. Then we take that glucose-galactose syrup and we made a tagatose-galactose-glucose syrup as well. We piloted most of the process steps. There's one step we're collaborating with people on. We have the Center for Dairy Research who's been a great partner on this to scale this up, commercialize this, and we plan on continuing to pilot this at UW. We're actively supported by SBIR and state-funded research programs. We've been able to, we have a process design for this process with an economic analysis. It's a lot cheaper than the tagatose you can buy currently on Amazon. There's a strong economic incentive. We have a great UW-Madison industry. We have a lot of dairy partners who are very interested in partnering with us. We're focusing on purification, scaling up, identifying our first commercial licensee, developing the intellectual property, doing the detailed engineering, and developing the strategic partners. If you are more interested in glasses, please contact Jared Featherman, or you can talk to me afterwards. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are you making any of the Babcock ice cream with your product?
No, I think we haven't made enough Tagatose yet, but it would be great to, yeah, it'd be great to turn it into ice cream. We've tested it in chocolate milk, and the taste test couldn't tell any difference between our chocolate milk and their chocolate milk. But we're in discussion with several people about using it for ice cream, actually.
I heard you primarily positioning as an alternative to another sugar substitute. Is that intentional? As opposed to going straight and saying we are just a sugar substitute. You are saying we are a different sugar substitute.
There's several types of alternative sweeteners that are on the market. You know, we love sweet food. We don't like the calories. And so there's a whole bunch of sweeteners that have been developed. The one we're most similar to is one called allulose. And allulose, it has a really fairly large established market. We think we fit well into that market with allulose. Tagatose is a sugar. We're a rare sugar that bakes just like sucrose, just like table sugar. Our bodies just doesn't have the enzymes to digest that. But we fit, you know, into this market that's probably similar for allulose, where we fit into baked goods or dairy, sweetening dairy markets. And Tagatose is FDA approved. It recently got approved by the FDA where you can say no sugar added if you add Tagatose. It has that label, just like the other low-calorie sweeteners as well. But there's several of them. There's stevia. I don't like stevia, but there's a whole discussion I could have about artificial sweeteners.
So do you have a plan for like what the next step would be in terms of the size of the scale of your production, where you engage by 499?
Yeah, you know, right now we're piloting the technology, working out doing the detailed engineering, and then afterwards we hope to build a 1,000-ton-a-day plant to prove out the technology, and from there we'll go to 10,000-ton-a-day plants where your economics look really good.
Where would you get all that way?
Where would we get all the land?
The way.
The way there's plenty of way that are available to meet the demand of where we see the growth of Tagatose that right now is, you know, being used for cattle feed, being put on land, or going to anaerobic digestion. So there's plenty of way that's available that we're not using. And with GLPs, there's more and more way being produced. If you drink Fairlife milk, you know, that's enriched in protein. And you have milk, you know, it's lactose protein, and we're enriching protein. And what do you do with the rest of the milk, the other waste stream that's called milk permeate? We're not doing anything with it right now. So really huge opportunity to do something with that lactose.
How much is Tagatose now, and how much are you guys making?
Yeah, Tagatose now sells for $4 a pound. We can produce it for less than $1 a pound.
How does that compare with sugar price?
Yeah, sucrose is about $1 a pound. You know, sucrose is about $1 a pound. So. It mainly comes from corn. That's where we like our, well, dextrose, the sugar cane in Brazil, it's a little bit more.
Thank you very much. As a cake lover, I look forward to the day I can make my cake healthier with Tagatose, so I appreciate that. Our next presenter, unlike you and I, are not annoyed by flies. Dr. Steve Rookie, utilizes black soldier fly larvae as a unique opportunity for sustainability. And so without further ado, Dr. Rookie.
Thank you. You know, I debated on whether I should bring a tray of live larvae over here, but then I thought, maybe not. It might detract from the sales pitch a little bit. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the possibilities with black soldier flies is what I would call a universal bioconverter. And, you know, as we all know, waste disposal is not just an environmental problem, it's an economic problem too, in terms of paying to get rid of waste. And, you know, and sometimes we don't have a lot of options. It's a growing problem. I mean, it's, you know, obviously as an environmentalist, and some, at least some food waste can be as high as 25% can go into a waste stream. It's a national and global significance, so it's beyond the borders of the state. I mean, it really is very definitely a national problem. It's very, also quite global as well. So our concept is using black soldier flies larvae as bioconverters, literally where you're feeding them the waste and they're converting it into something that's a much higher quality product that then in turn can be used for a multitude of different purposes. And that looks a little bit like this. This top graph gives you a little bit of an idea of what a circular economy looks like with black soldier flies. What we're finding, and what's out in the literature as well, is, I mean, they will pretty much bioconvert pretty much anything into a uniform product and reduce the environmental footprint. They're like vacuum cleaners. I mean, you can pretty much feed them about anything and they survive, they grow. Obviously, it depends on what kind of nutrients are in with the bioconversion feed, but for the most part, you know, they're not put off by any kind of waste that you're feeding them. They have a high conversion rate of feed to black soldier larvae biomass. In other words, they're twice as efficient as chickens and 12 times as efficient as cattle. So they really represent a very much of a jump in terms of efficiency of being able to take a biomass and converting it into something useful. What are the attributes of black soldier fly as a product? The larvae is nutrient rich. It's got a complete protein, lysine makeup. I mean, it compares very comparably with soybean meal and some of the other feedstocks that we currently use for animals. It's highly digestible in broilers. There's been work published to show that the digestibility coefficients are quite similar between, say, a soybean meal and black soldier fly. It's been pushed to be included in pet foods, poultry, aquaculture. All of those are currently being looked at or already being served as markets for these kinds of products. There are also antimicrobial peptides produced by the black soldier flies, which probably are underexplored in terms of another potential product coming out of this. And usually you fractionate the black soldier flies into protein and lipids. Lipids can then go into biodiesel production. So it's really a multifaceted product that can go to multiple streams in terms of utility and usefulness. So it is an established industry, and that's kind of a good news, bad news thing, the way I'll put it in terms of competition. The good news is it's not a high-risk business. It's already, this is just a snapshot of the companies out there currently producing at a commercial scale black soldier flies. There's probably over 20 companies globally. That continues to increase. There's probably only 2 or 3 U.S. companies. Most of these are located either in Europe or India or China or other places, and so it's very much a global type industry. Currently it's about a $6.9 billion industry from a global standpoint. It's projected by 2033 to be $70 billion. That's how much growth potential. It's probably 15-16% growth potential per year. Part of what's driving that is the expanded sources being fed to black soldier flies. People are starting to realize that they're looking at more and more waste streams that can be fed to black soldier flies, and therefore expanding the utility of them in the commercial application. Opportunities for Wisconsin. I think there are multiple BSFL markets, both from a standpoint of livestock that can be fed, cattle, poultry. We have a pretty active aquaculture industry in the state as well, probably other animals as well as we consider. And I think the beauty of it is, and this gets to be the good news about these companies being out there, the scale-up is already in place. They're already being produced at an industrial scale level of black soldier fly production. And so really, what we're looking at is what is an angle that is unique from what's already being done, and then can we overlay that with already what's being done out there commercially. And so why Wisconsin? I think, first of all and foremost, unique feedstocks. I think we have some waste products in this state that I think are underutilized or not utilized at all right now that can certainly be fed into these types of what I would call bioreactors. The organic feed market is really unexplored with black soldier flies. When we talk to companies, most of them have kind of stayed away from it. We have Organic Valley as a layer operation in the state. I think there's opportunities there to produce a unique type of organic feedstock that can be fed to laying hens. We're in conversation with the cheese producers in terms of taking cheese waste and converting that into black soldier flies. And the point I would make here is it's not just one or two waste products out of the cheese manufacturing. There's multiple waste products coming out of that cheese processing. And what we're looking at is being able to feed each and every one of those to black soldier flies and converting them all into black soldier fly product. Our angle is what we're interested in is what we call an enriched black soldier fly product. In other words, what we're looking at is the quality is already pretty good at black soldier flies, but how can we up the game? How can we get, for example, the essential amino acids, lysine and methionine, to be even higher, which are highly desirable in the livestock industry? Those two usually have to be supplemented by crystal amino acids. We want to use a protein source where they're already enriched to the point where you don't have to do those supplementations. And so we've got some preliminary data already. We're pretty convinced we can do that. And what we look at from a return on investment is that there's multiple fee money to be made here. I mean, certainly fee for using black soldier flies as your waste disposal option is certainly one place where fees can be generated. Market sales of the product itself, especially as you expand the number of different livestock markets, and if you get into the pet food market as well. And then our game is the sales of enriched BSML. In other words, overlaying what we're trying to do on top of what's already being done out there to produce a much higher quality product at a more premium price. So where our next steps and where we want to continue our opportunities is what we've done already. We've developed a standardized protocol. We have facilities in place that we can routinely grow black soldier flies. We have personnel in place that know how to grow them in a routine fashion. We have commercial partnerships already emerging. Last slide I kind of listed some of which are already funding us, others which have expressed interest, such as the cheese manufacturers. And we've completed studies where we've combined black soldier flies with postbiotics, and that's where we're starting to see this enrichment that I'm talking about in terms of getting a much higher quality product. Where we want to go is we want to evaluate it. Chickens is an obvious source, and we've been in contact with Cobb Vantras and other large poultry companies who have expressed an interest, and we're in the process of working with them on how we commercialize this. We also want to look at cattle as well as using this as some kind of a protein, sort of high quality protein that can survive the rumen to some extent and get into the lower gut and be highly available to the cow. We want to improve and accelerate poultry litter bioconversion. Poultry litter is a huge environmental pollutant. It gets into the watersheds, it's used as a fertilizer on land and gets into the watersheds. Our thought would be, can we use it to compost instead into this high quality black soldier fly? What we're finding out is the composting rate is maybe 2 weeks versus multiple weeks for bacteria. So we're wanting to get into more of that and pursuing where that might look like. And then finally, what we want to develop is a delivery system for biotics, probiotics, postbiotics, symbiotics, as a way to encapsulate those biotics and protect them from digestion until they can reach the site in the GI tract where they'll be highly available. And that's our direction of what we want to call in terms of an enriched type product. And with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
In the conversion process, what if there's contaminants in your supply chain, your supply sources? Does that conversion process remove any contaminants, or is that
I don't know about complete removal, but it's certainly, depending on what's in that gut system of the black soldier fly, certainly could modify it. Hopefully, maybe detoxify it would be one way to look at it. And and that's something we're exploring. But how much can we manipulate that black soldier fly microbiome? Our impressions right now is it's pretty plastic. In other words, it's pretty amenable to changing. Like, could you feed it certain organisms that would do a bioconversion on, say, a contaminant, that sort of thing? And I think that's a definite possibility.
so you'd have one army of larvae per source?
You absolutely could do that. You could have specialized larvae type bioconversion systems, right. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the directions. Now it's all generalized in terms of commercial manufacturing. It's just one product, and then one feedstock type thing. Our attitude is, or our thoughts is make it much more specialized, which gets you into the higher premium type products that you produce too.
So is this a product being produced by the Dairy Sciences Department?
Say that again?
Is this being produced by the Dairy Sciences Department at VW?
Yes.
And so like what's the current, how much can you produce now, and like what's next?
Well, we're just at a pilot scale right now, so, we're talking not huge amount of volumes, and that's one reason why I emphasize the commercial companies here. The scale-up technology is already there, okay? When we get something that we're pretty happy with from a process, the next step to scale it up is a matter of just, adopting that technology. We're not too worried about that. Right now, we're using it as a screening tool, because we want to know what is the diversity of substrates that we can convert, and how can we create the enriched product then, therefore, that lends itself into the scale up as we go forward.
Are you planning to do that within dairy sciences, or like a spin-off?
Could be both. We're in the process, we're collaborating with USDA Forage Lab, which also has black soldier fly facilities, and so that's where we want to go with the cattle part of it, is that we've been talking about starting to look at things like rumen digestion of these black soldier flies, and what does that look like. And, and our thought is that it serves again back to this natural encapsulation thing, where it kind of would protect what I would call high value feed ingredients away from microbial degradation, and they can reach into the digestive tract for the animal to use directly. Yes?
What's the range of percent of dry matter for the feedstocks that you can feed to the soldier flies?
That's a good question. I would say maybe in the 50% range, but that's just a guess right now. I mean, the data that we're putting together is based on a dry matter basis, and so you do that's one of the ways you process them, is you do dry them down. And so there is a certain amount of water biomass in there, but again, that has also been commercially worked out. So, again, we don't worry about it, because we know when we get to that step, it's already going to figure out how to do that. There's multiple ways to do that. You can feed the live larvae. Chickens, for example, are insectivores, and so, that's a ready-made product for them. If you want to go the route of feeding the live larvae, you could. And with some of these applications, that might even make some sense. But yeah, I think about 50-60% dry matter, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm hesitating just to guess on that. So
I was asking about what you feed the larva, like the percentage of dry matter in what you're feeding the larva.
Oh, okay. It probably is going to vary depending on what you mix it with. Like, for example, we'll mix it with like a wheat big type diet or something like that. And so, you can do half and half. Some of the studies we've seen out there, they went where it's like the total protein source. And then you obviously have the carbohydrates and other things coming in from other feedstocks. But so it can be a complete supplement.
How much money are you looking for to scale up?
Don't know yet. It's right now, our main goal right now is to keep our personnel funded, which is probably 100, 200,000, just to keep that part going, just to keep the people funded. The operation itself is really not that expensive in terms of we buy the larvae. There's one of the commercial companies I mentioned here is where we get our commercial larvae sources. They're not overly expensive. And most of it is just the handling and the personnel part and the harvesting.
Yep. All right.
I think she needs your attention.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the next presenter. So who knew that flies and larvae would be part of play a role in sustainability? So our next presenters are Dr. Gulistan Oster and Erica Majumder. And their idea, I didn't even think was possible. And so their research kind of takes the impossible into possibility by using dairy waste to make bioplastics. So.
Yeah, thank you for that lovely introduction. So we're really excited to be talking about our technology today. So we hatched this idea about 3 years ago, and we're really excited to have the forward ag funding to actually test this and try to make it a reality. So as alluded to, our process takes two waste problems and creates one opportunity. So plastics are wonderful materials in our world, but one of the issues with them is that there's hundreds of millions of tons produced globally every year, and depending on where you are in the world, there's been a proliferation of single-use plastics and then their improper disposal. So there's statistics like in the Pacific Ocean. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is bigger than the country of Belgium, things like that. So we've got a lot of plastic waste entering our environment, and that plastic waste persists and does not degrade fully. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller bits that we now call micro and nanoplastics. And the smaller the pieces of plastics get, the more toxic they become to us. So we'd like to replace those conventional plastics that persist as micro and nanoplastics with fully biodegradable plastics, and ideally ones that come from waste sources instead of just from petroleum or other sources. So we create these bioplastics, which are microbially based polymers called polyhydroxyalkanoids. Currently, they can replace things like polypropylene. There are companies globally, mostly in Europe and in Asia, that produce PHB, polyhydroxybutyrate, at scale. But there's two big issues with that. The first is that the process for extracting and purifying the polymer requires acid, solvent, and high temperature and high pressure, which we would like to avoid. And the other big issue is the cost. They're not competitive with conventional plastics. And the biggest portion of the cost is actually the feedstock, because these feedstocks use pure sugar sources, and that's a problem from a cost perspective, and also they compete with food production, which we would like to avoid.
Hello everyone, and our second problem comes from the data processing. So we are in Wisconsin and we are the most cheese producing state, and when we produce cheese we also generate whey. From 1 kilogram cheese to 9 kilogram of whey, and then there is value added products coming out from that, such as whey protein isolate. We all know that it's getting crazy pricey at this point, and the other thing that we are doing is the lactose recovery. And then when we do the lactose recovery, specifically for lactose crystallization, the byproduct is the lactose whey permeate. From now on, we will call it DLP. And it is a very large volume dairy stream, and then it has a lot of nutrients that is supporting the microbial growth. And however, it has a limited commercial value. Instead of thinking this as a low value product, with our team, we asked the question of whether we can use this as a feedstock for our value-added product of the bioplastic. And this leads to our solution, which is using this dairy waste, making the bioplastic. So we invented a process to convert this underutilized dairy byproduct into the value-added material using dairy blend equipment. So the most important, particularly the most important part is that basically we are, in our approaches, we are using this dairy blend equipment that's already existing in the dairy blend, and then for our recovery blend of the bioplastic, we are using this dairy blend equipment. So, which means that we are really integrating our bioplastic process into the dairy blend processing side. And it means that it brings us two advantages on feedstock size and then the process side. So on the dairy feedstock side, as we told, it is consistent year-round supply. It is low-cost dairy feedstock, and then again, it is suitable for microbial growth, and you don't have to do any pre-treatment. And on the scalable process side, as we mentioned, our approach is unique of using the existing dairy processing equipment, no harsh chemicals or high temperatures, and it really gives us the circular manufacturing, everything in one location.
So kind of picking it back off of what George said, we should have gone right after him. So he was talking about the lactose that he needs for his process, and we're talking about the D-lactose permeate that comes off of that. And again, ours process is also designed to be at those dairy plants. So you could even envision like a twofer where our reactor is right next to George's, taking the outflow from his waste, pumping it right into ours. So like George also mentioned, consumer trends are pushing those high protein products. So that means there's even more dairy whey permeate being generated. There's actually billions of tons in Wisconsin every year, depending on how you want to ask that. Someone asked in the audience. So depending on which type of dairy waste processing you're talking about, where there could be up to 30 billion tons in Wisconsin alone a year. And those fractions have little to no value to the industry, so they would like to see that On the bioplastic side, we're continuing to see an increase both in market demand as well as global production capacity, with those forecasts, jumping, pushing 70 billion in a couple years. So we're excited to maybe be a part of that or see our dairy processors entering these markets as well. So for where we're at right now, we have demonstrated our technology at the bench scale, and our techno-economic analysis is being completed right now from our collaborators. Just a couple hours ago, we very excitingly heard from WARF that they are pursuing patent protection for our process, so that's we're having a very exciting day for this technology. And we are currently scaling up towards the 100-gallon volume and in discussion with cheesemakers about implementation facility and piloting at a larger scale at some of those plants from one of the board members that you saw earlier on the slides for Forward Ag. And some preliminary numbers we're seeing here that if we can keep increasing those scales, our selling price should be pretty close to what the current PHB production price is. And so as we're kind of getting this technology off the floor, as it were, our question now is how do we actually sell this process as a product to customers? So it's a process, but not necessarily equipment. So we're not quite sure what that market entry or customer capture looks like. So thank you. Yes.
So are you associated with the university? You guys have your own business? What's the structure?
Oh, sure. So we are both professors at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm in the Department of Bacteriology, which is the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Microbiology department. We've never changed our name in 160 years. And you can say which part you're in. So.
Yes, I'm also assistant professor at UW-Madison in Food and Nutritional Science Department.
And so then how are you like going to steward this, or is this something that's a society interest for you that you're trying to promote? Like how's that work?
We'll kind of see, I guess. So it's really exciting that WARF was interested in the technology. So that means we're just right now starting to consider how we want to move forward. If we want to create a venture, we have a couple of grad students who might want to take it on. It might just be more of a licensing thing. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, open to suggestions.
Our next presenters, Dr. John Hendrickson and Leslie Schroeder, are working to create a new industry market by turning the flax plant into fiber that addresses issues within the textile industry. So please welcome them to the podium.
Good afternoon, John Hendrickson. I'm a farm viability specialist at the Center for Integrated Agricultural Systems at UW-Madison. And my partner in flax is Leslie Schroeder, owner of Badger State Mills and the mastermind behind Midwest Linen Revival.
Yeah, so if you're a human being and you woke up this morning, you know that we've got a couple problems out there in the world. I'm going to talk about a couple of whoppers. One of them is that word is out that fast fashion is incredibly environmentally detrimental. There's a couple places in the world where our clothing wastes are ending piling up. One of them is this picture we have here, which is the Atacama Desert in Chile, which the mountain of clothing waste got so big, it could be seen from space. Another place is the shore of Ghana. So when we are, our clothing's made out of synthetic materials, they're not breaking down, and they're just floating around and causing problems all over the place. Those petroleum-based fibers are things like polyesters and nylon. And then actually 30% of microplastics in water are coming directly from our clothing. And it's, plastics all over the place, right? Like my sunglasses and my vacuum cleaner. But when it's in a textile, it's actually being agitated in water when we're washing them. So that's why it's such a significant contributor. Another big problem we got here, particularly hits home in Wisconsin, is farm consolidation. And one issue around farming in general is just economic instability, because when we're dependent on just so few of crops, price fluctuations can become really detrimental to farmers. And then it's also about inputs, and then being dependent on shipments of inputs from like being impacted by tariffs and that kind of thing. And it's really actually siphoning out people living in rural spaces are increasingly actually literally depressed, suicidal. It's a really yes, particularly Midwestern heartbreaking problem. So we have a solution to a lot of our problems, and one of them is the flax plant, and it's actually not a new idea at all. It's just a very old idea that has come for its time again. Flax is an annual flowering dicot, and actually the human relationship with the flax plant is ancient. The first scrap of fiber that was found in a cave in the Republic of Georgia was 30,000 years old. So what I'm passing around is grown here in Wisconsin, and we're more familiar with flax right now from the seed, which is super delicious and nutritious for you. But what I'm interested in the fiber, and that is coming from the stem of the plant. It's a bast fiber. So traditionally, it could be used for garments and paper and all kinds of household things. Increasingly, so I also want to say two things, and this is also references our study, that there's two economic scale possibilities. Just like with other farming things, we've got field scale, and then we have like that CSA, like market garden scale. And so the same thing can be true in flax fiber, that we can have field scale and we can have what we've been calling artisanal scale growing. And out of that fiber, so it's not just, like I said, the seed you're familiar with. I want to say that the flax plant's binomial nomenclature is Linum usatatissimum, which actually means the plant most useful. So it's that seed, and you can just eat the seed. You can also press it for oil. If you're familiar with linseed oil, that's actually a furniture preservative. That's flax. And also people are using it in hair care products. Shive is the stiff inner part of the plant. That's actually what is holding it upright when it's growing as a plant. And that shive can be used as simply as animal bedding or compressed into acoustical tiles. It can be used as soil amendment. And then the fiber, like you're seeing sent around, is the long line fiber, and that is the most economically valuable part of it, which is sent into textiles. But then there's also secondary fibers, which are called tow, and that's the shorter broken fibers. It's kind of like B-grade fibers. So you could make all kinds of products from that, including like simply rope, carpet backing, and increasingly it's being used in bioplastic composites. It can be an alternative to carbon fiber and fiberglass. And so anytime you hear the word fiber, you can just use another fiber. It's being used in sporting goods and in automotive equipment as well.
The #1 tennis player in the world, Carlos Alcaraz, has flax fiber in his tennis racket. And it's also in our dollar bills, although all of it's imported from France. So we've got increasing demand for sustainable materials, as the previous presenter indicated. It's a huge market that's growing. Flax can be a part of that. And it's not just the textile market, it's these bioplastic composites and other things that can be made from the fibers. And our own government has a program to emphasize the purchase of domestic bio-based products, the USDA Bio-Deferred Program. It's one of the most sustainable textiles without even trying. It doesn't require irrigation, it requires very little chemical inputs, no insecticides or fungicides. It does usually require herbicides. It stores carbon. Our wardrobes can be carbon sinks to help that issue in our planet. And diversifies crop rotations and improves the soil. As Leslie indicated on the last slide, 100% of the plant is useful, from the dust to the seed to the fibers in between. And while it's really durable and strong and provides shock absorbing capacities in various things, which is why it's in a tennis racket, it's also fully biodegradable.
So we're not the only folks in North America who think that's a good idea. There's actually the North American Linen Association, which when I got going with Midwest Linen Revival, we were holding down the map in Wisconsin, putting flax on the map. When I joined NALA, I was member #2, and now they have well over 100 members. Some notable other organizations that are doing really great work there is Pennsylvania Flax Project in Pennsylvania.
They just got a 1.7 USDA organic market development grant, and they're off to the races to scale up, and they have the harvesting equipment and looking to site a mill. And then also Coast Fibers in Oregon State is a couple of years ahead of us, and they've got the harvesting equipment and are really pushing forward. And another super exciting one, we have some news to share, which comes in relation to the Dakota Linen Company in North Dakota.
But we're going to wait for that. That business. Are you?
Yeah. Right. So some of the things that we've got going on here in Wisconsin is that 2 years ago, flax was listed as an emerging crops with the UW extension. And so there's one extension agent that has actually planted out a half acre of flax himself this year. And so we're excited about getting their support and interest in that, helping diversify Wisconsin's agricultural economy. And then also in 2024, the Farmers Union, actually I worked with a couple people that overlapped in fiber and farming to update their policy language, which was then adopted by the membership. And so they've also become advocates of flax possibly becoming a worthwhile crop in Wisconsin.
More recently, we received WISE's funding, which we're very grateful for, to do a feasibility study. Our primary outcomes of that feasibility study are some strategic paths forward, which relates to Leslie's comment about the smaller scale and larger scale production systems that we'd like to push both forward with. We believe that unlike the Pennsylvania flax project, which is kind of pinning everything on scaling up really fast to be able to supply a scutching mill, we believe we need to partner with Wisconsin businesses, manufacturing businesses. There's boat manufacturing and paper manufacturing, all kinds of different businesses in Wisconsin where we could begin using those shorter fibers as we scale up to be able to produce the longer fibers and have enough production to feed into a mill. Leslie has incorporated Badger State Mills, which is beginning to explore smaller scale processing equipment that can supply into that artisanal scale production supply chain. And then we're partnering with UW Stout to do some pilot testing of prototyping. There's a professor there that we're working with. They're going to be making buttons out of flax this fall. Our ask. We were really hoping that we were going to find a Wisconsin manufacturer that was like, yes, we would love to replace fiberglass with flax. Our cold call attempts and cold email attempts proved not to be very successful. So we are really looking for industry people that we can collaborate with to do testing, to use. We've already got flax in the ground. Most of it's small scale, but we've got enough, and we will have enough to do R&D testing moving forward. In terms of some dollar requests, we need $15,000 to $20,000 to move forward with small scale processing equipment that is going to be part of Badger State Mills. And then ultimately, if we're going to move forward with larger scale production, we need a set of harvesting equipment. Flax requires a puller, a turner, a lifter, and a baler. And they're very specialized to flax, so hay balers in Wisconsin don't cut. And all that equipment has to come from Europe. And our big news.
Well, we just probably got to our last slide. Just that it's interesting. We've had a number of presenters talk about dairy in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin can continue doing dairy, but we think that flax can become a really worthwhile crop as part of diversifying our agricultural economy. In particular, what John and I are super excited about, just earlier this week, Spencer from Dakota Linen reached out and said that he is now actually collaborating with an international clothing brand that is looking to site a mill in North Dakota, and that they would like to have another partner in the Midwest and start looking at flax trials in Wisconsin. So we'll be looking into that in 2027.
Thank you.
Historically, flax was the main input for making paper in the 19th century. Are you looking at all of recycling post-linen clothing into products at that stage? When you're taking the toe to go in one direction, but to follow the chain all the way out?
Yeah, we haven't yet. I mean, right now, linen paper is grown at like a artisanal scale. It's like a specialty paper. One of the reasons that large paper makers really focus now on wood pulp is that those trees just sit around and are available whenever. They're not like dependent on the regular agricultural season. I think that clothing recycling is also a huge challenge because of blends. So when you have fiber blends, you can't get them apart. And then also just like complexities around like buttons, zippers, and all of the things. So we haven't yet, but I think that, yeah, especially at a small artisanal scale, I think that'd be a really fun thing.
Why isn't there a bit more flax adaptation across the U.S.?
Yeah, thanks. That's a really great question. Flax, so all of our earliest European immigrants to Wisconsin were growing flax. And actually, if you go to Old World, Wisconsin, which is in Waukesha, they're actually demonstrating flax growing and processing by hand at the Pomeranian farm there. It never really took off in North America because flax could not compensate with, or it could not compete economically with cheap cotton because the uncompensated labor of enslaved people. So Europe didn't have that direct competition financially, but the flax industry in the United States did have like some traction because of the favorability of linen. But in Wisconsin, it really only was thriving during the Civil War when there was actually lack of access to that cheap cotton. And of course, even after the Civil War, that economically was still pretty unequal.
But now with all this infrastructure that doesn't.
This was a really long answer, but the short answer is the problem has never been agronomic; it's always been economic.
Sure.
But with an increasing interest and demand for linen, if you look up any kind of quick survey of growth projections for linen are really high.
It's big business in France. Most linen is grown in northern France.
Our last presenter is Dr. Joe Stanford, who is coming up with solutions to remove hydrogen sulfide from livestock biogas systems.
All right, thank you. I'm Joe Stanford from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. I'm also associated with the state's Dairy Innovation Hub. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the sulfur problem and anaerobic digestion on farms and turning agricultural and forestry residues into a potential solution. So just in case people are not familiar with what anaerobic digestion is and what I'm talking about, on farms we generate a lot of waste from animals. So we have manure, and one thing that we can do with that manure is we can put it through a process called anaerobic digestion, which converts that manure, microbes break it down in this reactor, and we get biogas, which we can then use for energy generation. Now this is great for sustainability and on-farm energy generation, but biogas on farms has a sulfur problem. And so we feed a lot of sulfur to our livestock, and a lot of that sulfur comes out in manure. And when we put that sulfur in anaerobic conditions, hydrogen sulfide is formed. And in order to take that biogas in that's produced, that hydrogen sulfide goes with that biogas. It needs to be removed in order to convert that gas into energy. And so the reason for this is primarily that hydrogen sulfide is very corrosive. And so before we get to that energy use stage, we need to remove that hydrogen sulfide. And in the process, generally after we produce the biogas, we do some sort of a gas cleanup phase. And there's various types of medias that will go into these reactors that the biogas will flow through. But the media is all very costly. And to put it in perspective, a local digester in southwest Wisconsin, it's one of the smallest ones in the state, they spend anywhere from $120,000 to $150,000 per year just on hydrogen sulfide cleanup. In addition, and think about sustainability, anaerobic digestion has a lot of potential for sustainability, but this media that's used currently is considered a waste stream. So all this media, after it gets a saturation of that hydrogen sulfide, it is generally landfilled. So when you think about sustainability, there's some concerns there. And so what my group has been looking at is biochar as the solution. So for those of you who may not be familiar with what biochar is, essentially what we are doing here is we're taking some sort of biomass. And so this can be from agriculture residues, so things like corn stover after corn grain harvest, the stuff left on the field, hemp stalks after hemp harvest, hazelnut shells, things like that, or forestry residue. We can take this very abundant source of biomass from ag and forestry industries, and we can put it through a process called pyrolysis. And essentially what we're doing here is we are heating up that biomass at very high temperatures, but with little to no oxygen. And so what we are creating is basically a charcoal-like material. Now this has benefits to that residue because we can reduce the mass. There's also some heating and energy end uses to this process as well. What we end up with is biochar, and I have a few examples up here. Biochar looks a lot like carbon, but it has a very high surface area. It also has a lot of carbon, stable carbon in it. So when we think about carbon sequestration, if we apply this biochar to the soil, that carbon is going to stay in the soil for hundreds to thousands of years, depending on how we produce that biochar. So what my lab group has been looking at is using biochar in the anaerobic digestion process to reduce that hydrogen sulfide issue. So we've kind of looked at two areas that we are interested in incorporating biochar into this process. The first one is with the manure itself. And so it's basically a digester additive where we are adding biochar with the manure as it is flowing into that digester. And we have preliminary results that specific biochar properties from certain feedstocks and temperatures have significant reduction of hydrogen sulfide production in that biogas itself. The other area that we're looking at as well is in that existing biogas cleanup system. So replacing some of those medias that is currently being used with biochar, with the idea that we can recover some of that hydrogen sulfide, but since biochar wouldn't have all the chemicals associated with it, we can then potentially use that biochar, land apply it, and sequester that carbon into the soil. We also have some preliminary results as part of our WISES grant, Forward Ag grant, that shows that certain biochars have this ability to capture this hydrogen sulfide. So in terms of market potential, in the United States, there's already an established market that needs recurring hydrogen sulfide treatment, and they're looking for more cost-effective and sustainable treatment methods than what's already existing on the market. And so in the United States right now, there's a little over 400 operating digesters. And a big change in the digester industry that is favorable for hydrogen sulfide treatment is that there's been a 218% increase in operations that take that biogas and use it for renewable natural gas. So in the past, that biogas was primarily used for direct electricity generation. Now they've changed it, and so the industry is moving more towards this renewable natural gas. And the benefit there is the hydrogen sulfide removal is much higher need for that renewable natural gas than with electricity generation. And another thing, in the United States, there is a lot of potential for digesters, but we haven't seen that boom yet. So AgStar, which is a USDA, EPA organization, has estimated there's around 8,000 plus potential digester sites that would be using dairy or swine manure that have technical potential for implementation. So our research so far has been on the bench scale, and what our kind of goal is now to take that research and go more to a pilot scale. So we have done a lot of bench scale testing on both the in-digester additive and also in the biogas cleanup system. Right now what we're trying to find is funding to help support some pilot scale reactors so we can simulate more real world situations that the digesters out in the field are experiencing rather than our small 500 milliliter batch reactors. We're also looking, everyone on the team, we are not economists, we're engineers and ag waste specialists, so we are looking for funding or a partner to come on board that can possibly look at validating the economics. So If any of you are familiar with biochar, it's not necessarily a cheap product. And so how does that compare to some of these existing products on the market, the way that we're suggesting to implement it into the system? And the other thing we're looking for as well is industry partners. We have a few already, primarily operators and farmers, so we're looking for more operators and farmers that are interested in exploring, potentially being demonstration sites, providing operational feedback. But we're also looking for individuals that may be a little more savvy than us in the carbon markets, because biochar has potential for some of those carbon credits that are coming out of California. And so with that, thank you for your time. It's not just me on the team. Rebecca Larson at UW-Madison, who's an ag waste specialist and an extension specialist, has been very instrumental in this this work that we've been doing. Brian Langloff, formerly with UW, and Isaac Linsmeyer, have both provided some technical support on these projects as well. So, thank you.
Do you have any idea how much biochar would be produced by a single pyrolysis unit, and how much would be consumed by one of the average anaerobic digesters in Wisconsin?
Yeah, so that's part of our batch research that we're doing right now, is trying to figure out a dosing rate of biochar into these reactors that might be ideal. The thing is that different feedstocks, different biochars, they're going to need different amounts depending on what your feedstock is in that area. So in terms of the production, that's one area of the system that does need to be improved, is in terms of like availability of reactors to produce this biochar. There are not a lot in the United States. There's a lot more over in Europe, but not in the United States yet. However, we are seeing a lot more companies start to come on board interested in putting in these reactors. I mean, the size of the reactors and how much they can handle is really going to depend on the investment. There's a company that we've been working with out of Iowa. They make these reactors basically in 40-foot storage containers, and they can produce anywhere to 3 to 5 tons of biochars per day. You can buy multiple trains together if you have more biomass that you want to convert.
So you're looking at creating just the product in the biochar rather than being a digester operator, and that's a way to lower cost on an input there, so that you have an output that's higher quality.
Yeah, precisely. And yeah, so our research has really been focused on the biochar side of things and trying to tailor the production process to target mitigating hydrogen sulfide or recovering it from the biogas. So that's what our focus has been so far. So it's not necessarily on the design of an entire anaerobic digestion facility. It's more of these strategies and this potential to make specific media for clients, or specific biochars for clients based on their feedstock in the area and their needs for hydrogen sulfide.
And kind of a follow-up is the higher quality natural gas that comes out of those digesters, you're looking to, that would be marketed independently as a specific product, or that's a kind of hybrid product for an input to, say, gas lines?
So that's what they're doing right now, is that biogas, basically they're purifying it and it gets pumped into the natural gas pipeline. And so that's where there's been a lot of more investment in hydrogen sulfide remediation in biogas, because to pump it into that pipeline, you basically have to have it to zero. And an anaerobic digester, it's going to depend on the farm, but I've seen anywhere from, the lowest is probably 1,000 parts per million up to 8,000, 10,000 parts per million in that biogas. So it's a lot of hydrogen sulfide that has to be removed before you can pump it into that pipeline.
Do you have any idea how much sulfur could be absorbed by the biochar? So like what percentage by mass could be loaded up?
We do have, for the flow-through systems, kind of the biogas treatment, we have been, as part of our studies, we've been looking at, basically what we've been doing is we've been taking Wisconsin agricultural feedstocks, making them into biochar at different pyrolysis conditions, and testing that to figure out, what temperature, what types of feedstocks will give us the best results in terms of that. Compared to kind of what's on the market right now, Most of the biochars that we have made have a little bit lower capacity in terms of like milligrams per gram. But right now we're working with some modifications that we think are going to increase that sorption capacity to be a lot more comparable to some of these products that are already on the market. Thank you.
All right, so for audience member, can you please give another round of applause to all of our founders and presenters? And again, I would like to thank the WDC as well as Forward Fest for this opportunity to again gather and share ideas. And so I want everyone to, one of the takeaways is that the ideas that you saw here are just a taste of the innovation that is happening throughout the state. And what this also highlights is effective collaboration between different sectors and the importance of continued partnership. So as we're closing here today, I want audience members to be able to engage and have discussions with our founders and presenters and determine ways in which you can get involved. And lastly, again, thank you all for coming. And if you'd like, you can sign up to be on our email list to be able to learn about upcoming events and things that are happening. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for being here.